What if I told you the confusion you feel right now is not a mistake? That delay, that rejection, that moment where nothing makes sense, it might actually be guidance. Most people think they're lost. But what if you're not lost? You're being redirected. Because here's the truth, no one tells you greatness doesn't come with clear directions. It comes with signs, subtle ones, easy to miss, and if you ignore them, you stay stuck. But if you understand them, everything starts shifting. In this video, I'm going to show you how your life is quietly guiding you towards something bigger, even if right now it feels like nothing is working. Stay with me, because by the end, you might see your entire life differently. Let's get one thing straight. Confusion does not mean you're failing. It means something is changing. Most people grow up believing that life should be clear, that you should always know what you're doing, where you're going, and how everything will work out. But real life doesn't work like that. In fact, the moment things become unclear, uncertain, and uncomfortable, that's usually the moment something bigger is happening behind the scenes. Think about it. Every major shift in your life probably started with confusion. A time when nothing made sense. A time when you questioned yourself. A time when you felt like you were losing control. But what you didn't realize in that moment was you weren't losing control. You were losing your old identity. And that's where most people get it wrong. They feel confused, and they assume they've taken a wrong turn. So they panic. They go back to what feels safe. They choose comfort over growth. They silence the discomfort instead of understanding it. But confusion is not there to stop you. It's there to break the version of you that can't go where you're meant to go. Because let's be honest, if everything stayed the same, you wouldn't grow, you wouldn't evolve, you wouldn't become more. You'd just repeat the same patterns, live the same life, and stay in the same place. Confusion is the signal that your current mindset is no longer enough for your next level. It's like your life is telling you, the way you've been thinking, the way you've been acting, it won't work anymore. And that realization, it feels uncomfortable, it feels messy, it feels uncertain. But that doesn't mean it's wrong. In fact, it's the exact opposite. The people who eventually reach something great, they all go through this phase. A phase where nothing makes sense. A phase where they doubt everything. A phase where they feel stuck between who they were and who they're becoming. And that middle space, that's confusion. But here's the difference. Average people try to escape that space. Extraordinary people learn to stay in it. They don't rush for answers. They don't force clarity. They sit with the uncertainty. They observe. They learn. They allow themselves to grow through it. Because deep down, they understand something powerful. Clarity doesn't come before the journey. Clarity comes because of the journey. You don't figure everything out first and then move forward. You move forward, and that's how things start making sense. So if you're in a place right now where you feel lost, where things aren't clear, where you're questioning everything, don't panic. Pause. Because this might not be the breakdown you think it is. This might be the moment your life is preparing you for something bigger. And instead of asking, why am I so confused? Ask a better question. What is this confusion trying to teach me? Because once you shift that perspective, everything changes. Rejection feels personal. It hits your confidence. It makes you question your worth. It whispers things like, maybe I'm not good enough, or maybe this just isn't for me. And in that moment, it's hard to see anything beyond the pain of being told no. But here's the truth most people realize. Too late rejection is not the end of your path. It's a correction of it. Think about how many times you wanted something so badly. A job, an opportunity, a relationship, a plan you were sure would change your life. You imagined it working out. You saw the future in your head. And then it didn't happen. That gap between expectation and reality, that's where rejection lives. And it hurts because you're attached, not just to the outcome, but to the version of life you created in your mind. So when rejection shows up, it doesn't just close a door. It destroys a story you believed in. But what if that story wasn't meant for you? What if you were holding on to something that looked right, but wasn't aligned with who you're becoming? That's the part most people miss. Rejection doesn't mean you're not capable. It means this specific path is not the one meant to take you forward. Because not every opportunity is your opportunity. Not every open door leads to growth. Some doors lead to distractions, some lead to dead ends, and some lead to versions of your life that would slowly pull you away from your real potential. But you can't see that in the moment. All you see is loss. And that's why people make a dangerous mistake. They chase what rejected them. They try harder. They force things. They beg for chances. They hold on to something that already showed them it's not for them. And in doing that, they delay what actually is meant for them. Because here's how life works. When something better is trying to enter your life, something else has to leave. Space needs to be created. And sometimes, rejection is the way that space is made. It clears what doesn't belong so that what does belong has a place to come in. But you have to be willing to let go. That's the hard part. Letting go of what you thought was right so you can receive what actually is. And when you look back, really look back, you'll notice a pattern. Things you once cried over, you're now grateful didn't happen. Opportunities you once begged for, you now see would have limited you. People you once chased, you now realize were never aligned with your direction. That's not coincidence. That's redirection. But you only understand it in hindsight. Which means in the present moment, you have to choose something powerful. Trust that the no is not a reflection of your value. Trust that the closed door is protecting your path. Trust that something you can't see yet is being prepared for you. Because if you keep chasing what rejected you, you stay stuck in a loop. But if you accept it, learn from it, and move forward, you step into alignment. And that's where things start to shift. So the next time rejection shows up, don't immediately see it as failure. Pause and ask yourself, what if this is not blocking me, but guiding me? Because sometimes the reason you didn't get what you wanted is because you're meant for something more. There's a voice inside you that doesn't shout. It whispers. It doesn't argue. It doesn't force. It simply nudges. And the strange thing is, you've heard it before. That moment when something looks perfect on the outside, but deep down it feels off. Or when something makes no logical sense, but you feel pulled toward it anyway. That quiet feeling, that subtle knowing, that's your inner voice. And it's not random. It's one of the most powerful guidance systems you have, but also the most ignored. Because we've been trained to trust everything else first. We trust opinions. We trust trends. We trust what people say we should do. We follow logic, validation, and external proof. And slowly, without realizing it, we disconnect from the one thing that actually knows us best, ourselves. That's why so many people feel stuck. Not because they don't have answers, but because they're not listening to them. Your inner voice doesn't come from fear. It doesn't come from ego. It comes from awareness. It sees patterns you consciously miss. It connects dots you haven't yet understood. But here's the problem. Your inner voice is quiet, and the world is loud. Notifications, social media, opinions, expectations, pressure. All of it creates noise. And the more noise you allow, the harder it becomes to hear that signal. So what do most people do? They ignore it. They override that feeling. They say, maybe I'm overthinking. They convince themselves to follow what's safe, what's expected, what makes sense to everyone else. And in doing that, they move away from their own path. Because your path won't always look logical. Sometimes it will feel uncertain. Sometimes it won't be approved by others. Sometimes it won't come with guarantees. But that doesn't mean it's wrong. In fact, the strongest signals often come when something feels different. And here's how you can tell the difference between fear and your inner voice. This is important. Fear is loud. It rushes you. It creates panic. It tells you to avoid, to run, to stay small. Your inner voice is calm. Even when it's guiding you towards something uncomfortable, it feels steady, clear, almost neutral. It doesn't scream, "Do this now or everything will fall apart." It quietly says, "This feels right. Trust it." That's the signal. But trusting it takes courage. Because when you follow your inner voice, you might have to walk alone for a while. You might have to make decisions others don't understand. You might have to step away from what's familiar. And that's uncomfortable. But ignoring it has a cost too, a much bigger one. You end up living a life that looks right on the outside, but feels wrong on the inside. And that feeling doesn't go away. It stays. It grows. It reminds you again and again that you're not aligned. So the real question is, what are you choosing? Temporary comfort or true direction? Because your inner voice is always there. It never leaves. It keeps guiding, even when you ignore it. And the more you start listening, the more you pause, reflect, and trust that feeling, the stronger it becomes. Clarity starts building. Decisions become easier. And slowly, you stop feeling lost. Not because everything is figured out, but because you finally trust yourself. So next time you feel that quiet pull, don't dismiss it. Don't overanalyze it. Just pause and listen. Because that voice is not leading you away, it's leading you home. Let's be honest, no one likes discomfort. We avoid it, we delay it, we distract ourselves from it. Because discomfort feels like something is wrong. It feels like pressure, anxiety, uncertainty. It makes you question yourself. It makes you want to go back to what's familiar, what's safe. But what if that feeling is actually proof that something is going right? Because here's the truth, growth and comfort cannot exist at the same time. The moment you step into a new level of your life, everything starts to feel unfamiliar. New responsibilities, new expectations, new challenges. And suddenly, the version of you that was once confident starts to feel unsure. That's not failure. That's expansion. You're stretching beyond your current limits. And stretching is never comfortable. Think about it like this. Every time you grow, you're stepping into territory you've never been in before. There's no map, no guarantee, no full clarity. And that naturally creates tension. But that tension is not there to break you. It's there to build you. The problem is, most people misinterpret that feeling. They assume discomfort means they're not ready. They assume pressure means they're doing something wrong. They assume anxiety means they should stop. So what do? They retreat. They go back to old habits, old environments, old versions of themselves because it feels easier. But easier doesn't mean better. Because every time you run from discomfort, you run from growth. And every time you avoid growth, you stay stuck in the same place. Here's something powerful to understand. Your mind is designed to protect you, not to grow you. It wants safety, familiarity, predictability. So when you start doing something new, something bigger, your mind reacts. It sends signals like fear, doubt, hesitation. Not because you're incapable, but because you're stepping outside your comfort zone. And your comfort zone, that's just a place where nothing new happens. No real progress, no transformation, just repetition. So when you feel discomfort, instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" ask a better question. What is this trying to grow in me? Because every uncomfortable moment is shaping something. It's building resilience. It's sharpening your mindset. It's forcing you to adapt, to think differently, to become stronger. But only if you stay. Only if you don't run. The people who achieve something meaningful, they don't avoid discomfort. They expect it. They understand that every new level comes with new pressure. And instead of resisting it, they lean into it. They stay when it's hard. They keep going when it's uncertain. They push forward even when they don't feel ready. Because they know something most people don't. You don't become ready first and then take action. You take action, and that's how you become ready. So if you're in a phase right now where things feel uncomfortable, where you're doubting yourself, where everything feels uncertain, don't see it as a warning sign. See it as a signal that you're moving forward, a signal that you're evolving, a signal that you're stepping into a version of yourself you've never been before. And yes,